right. Well, hello, everybody. Everyone who's watching this later, this is going to be pre-recorded. My name is Heather Ledbetter, and I am the creator of the Hot Summer Shorts Animation Short Challenge that's happening all this month. So if you're interested, please check out the social media, including this is going to be on Instagram, Facebook, not X because I don't think I can put the interviews on X, but it'll be all those other places. All of the information that you need to participate in the challenge is pinned at the top of the profiles. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested. I'm very excited because I have got the very accomplished Steven Anderson joining me today for a chat. Hey, Steve, how are you?
Hey Heather, I'm doing well. Thanks for the invitation. Great to be here.
Awesome. So for those who aren't familiar, Steve is best known for his tenure at the Walt Disney Studio, and you've done a lot. Things just so great. If you're not familiar with his work, I mean, he worked on Tarzan, Brother Bear, Emperor's New Groove. He directed Meet the Robinsons and Winnie the Pooh, so and more, many more. But those are kind of the highlights reel, right? But you've done a lot of really cool stuff with Disney
Thanks.
and beyond, I know, but I think a lot of people probably know of you from Disney.
Mhm.
Also, as I said, he's very accomplished. You wrote a book. So he wrote Disney in Between, and it's the lost years between 1966 and 1986. This book is really, really great.
Oh,
I'm going to put the link to this, but Steve was also gracious enough to donate a copy, a signed copy, as a prize for the Hot Summer Shorts Challenge. So, Steve, thanks again. I've already said it, but thank you again so many times for
oh yeah.
that. It's such a fascinating book for Disney history fanatics like myself, or just animators, anybody who is curious about Disney has this long history, and there's a lot of stuff people don't know about. So, um,
Yeah.
highly, highly recommend that book. Again, I'll link the Amazon uh, store for that, and we're definitely going to talk about it.
Great.
Um, so we'll get into the questions. So, like I said, I've listed off, you've worked on so many different films, so many great films, and you've worked as head of story, director, lots of different stuff. Is there one particular role in the films that you've worked on that you kind of enjoy more than the others, or do you really like kind of being in different roles, participating in different things?
I do like getting to do a lot of different things, but certainly for me, the top thing is I love being a director. I really love the thrill of coming up with an idea and then building a team, grabbing a bunch of people that are super talented, that are really great at what they do, and say, "Hey, let's make something together." And I love that. I think it's really exciting, really rewarding. And I also just love telling stories. So to be able to tell a story with a team of people, I enjoy telling stories on my own, like Disney in Between was sort of something I did on my by myself. But the thrill of being in rooms and edit suites and story rooms and all that stuff with artists and filmmakers and writers and actors and musicians and creating a film together is just really fun. So I my ultimate dream was to be a director, and I'm really fortunate that I've been able to do that, and I just want to keep getting better at doing that.
That's really great. And that was something that was another question that I was thinking of is, you know, what was your goal when you got into the industry? Kind of what did that look like at the beginning? Did you always
Mhm.
want to be an animator to begin with? Did you want to be a story guy? Did you want to be a director? Or has it
Mhm.
really evolved over the years?
It's kind of both. It has evolved, but as I said, I did want to be a director, so I did pursue that. I'll rewind the tape back to the beginning. Uh,
Yeah.
as a kid, I wanted to be an animator. Once I read the book Disney Animation: The Illusion of Life by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, two of
Yeah.
Disney's Walt's Nine Old Men, that classic book. I learned what an animator was. I learned there was a person that did that stuff, that made the characters act and think and move. And that was the stuff that always captured my imagination, where, if, particularly with Disney animation, were the characters. I just thought they were so appealing. Um, always connected and engaged with them so much. So that was really my first dream is I want to be an animator. as I got a little bit older, I started studying more about just filmmaking in general, and I enjoyed this concept of directing because I also like doing leadership roles in my life, in school, in Boy Scouts, in whatever aspect of life. I found that I enjoyed that. So I thought, oh, that's a way to combine all of this stuff, this love of storytelling, love of leadership, and you know that's kind of a cool thing. But I had no idea how to achieve that. I understood a little bit better on how to the path to being an animator. So that's really where I started. Went to CalArts, studied how to be an animator, left the CalArts and went into the industry and was an animator for a couple of years, and realized very quickly that I was not a good animator. uh, there's so much so much of there's a huge technical aspect of being a 2D animator that's just besides the drawing, of the characters. And that part of it was like, poosh, I could not wrap my brain around that. I realized I'm not that kind of artist.
Mm.
So, however, right around that time, I was able to move into storyboarding at the studio I was at. There was a shift that was made there, and they started doing some TV production, and it gave me the opportunity to storyboard for the first time. I realized I really liked that because it is that a little more macro storytelling, which I was getting more interested in. And then I was able to transition at that same studio into getting to direct for the first time. So once that happened, it was like, all right, I'm glad I pursued being an animator because I learned a lot, but I'm also glad that that path didn't pan out because I was able to then pivot and find the path that was really, really spoke to my heart, which is storyboarding, storytelling, directing. Um, so then from that point on, I that was my pursuit. When I came to Disney, I started as a storyboard artist and then story supervisor and then a director.
That's awesome. And what a Tarzan was your first film that you worked on for Disney,
That's
correct?
correct. Yes.
What a great movie to start on. Tarzan,
Oh, I know.
I
I was
love
so proud of that movie when it was all done,
yeah.
and I was like, wow, that was a great introduction into the world of
Yeah.
Disney animation.
Was there a particular scene in Tarzan that you storyboarded that like almost frame for frame made it in that you're particularly proud of?
Mm. I can't remember how directly translated my boards were to the original film because it's been a while since I've seen those boards. But the sequence that I'm really proud of in Tarzan is the sequence where, kind of towards the end of the first act, young Tarzan is at his really kind of lowest moment, and he looks at his reflection in the water, and he's so frustrated that he doesn't fit in with his family of gorillas, and he grabs a bunch of mud and he puts it on his face to try to change his appearance. And then his mother, Kala, comes in and sort of says, "It's not about what you look like; it's about who you are inside."
Yeah.
That sequence, I pretty much wrote and also storyboarded, and it was a really lovely moment in the movie. I was really fortunate that the directors let me do that.
Yeah.
But also a very personal moment because I was adopted, which feeds into Meet the Robinsons later on, many years later. But I really could connect personally to Tarzan's journey about feeling like, this is my family because the nature versus nurture, basically the idea of is your
Yeah.
family defined by who loves you or is it defined by who created you?
Yeah.
And so I was really able to kind of put my heart and soul into that moment and channel a lot of those feelings. So it was really cool. I'm very proud of that sequence.
Oh, that no, that's a beautiful sequence. So that's neat. Well, I love that I know that you kind of started that or created.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. And so speaking of Meet the Robinsons, forgive me for not knowing this. I probably should, but did you I know you directed it. So did you also write it? Did you have a hand in creating the story from its infancy?
Yes, it was very collaborative. When I first came on the project, there was a script already written, so we had that as a springboard, and a lot of the elements of the movie that are in there today came from that script. The time travel aspect, actually, the adoption angle was in that script when I got it. The names of the characters, a lot of the kind of general story beats were from that original script. And so then our team took that and used that as the basis and just continued to to write and storyboard it. So we had myself and four other storyboard artists, and then we had one writer that was with us, and we were all writing, storyboarding, rewriting each other. It was very
Yeah,
collaborative. It was very much like sort of that sense of a writer's room in television writing, where it's just a group of
sure.
people that get together and just beat the stuff up and create together. So it was very collaborative that way. There was a script, there were writers, but there was also us as storyboard artists. We also wrote as we boarded.
Right. And that was your debut as a director?
Yeah,
What?
that was my first feature. I had done some TV animation prior to that, but this was my first feature.
Wow, that's so exciting. And do you feel like at the end of the day, the end product was more or less what you guys had originally envisioned? I know that every project goes through a lot of changes and alterations, but do you feel ultimately like it started kind of in one form and essentially kept that form by the end of it?
I do, and it's pretty amazing that I can say that because the
Mm,
movie did
yeah.
go through a lot of not just creative changes, but a lot of kind of internal studio politic stuff as well. So most of us on the team were like trying to shield it from the storm
Yeah.
and make sure that it could survive. But the theme of keep moving forward, Lewis's journey, all of those core things were in the very beginning version, the earliest versions, and continue to be there today. So I do feel like we set out the story we set out to tell, we told,
Yeah.
and we still told it in the way we wanted to tell it. Of course, as you say, any creative process, not just movies, but anything anybody creates,
Hmm.
you always stand back and look at it when it's done and go, I wish I could have done that better, or I wish I would have spent a little more time on that, or I think, we are always our worst critic. So
Yeah.
there's of course things that I can pick at,
Oh,
but
right.
very proud of the movie and that we got to tell that story.
That's awesome. I know in films like I know Emperor's New Groove went through like
Yeah, yeah,
title change and the whole story. Who's got like it went through a lot of changes, but
yeah,
you were head of story on that film, which
yeah.
one of my favorites of all time. So when I
Oh,
found
good.
long ago when we first started kind of interacting on social media, I was like, oh my gosh, you worked on Emperor's New Groove. One of my favorites. So
That's good. That's
uh,
good. It's
fantastic.
I know social media and all that can gets a bad rap, but I do from a from someone who worked on, I think as a creator, what's great is you get that feedback. You get evidence that these things live on. That I find I see lots of movies from that time period, like the Emperor's New Groove time period, Atlantis, Treasure Planet,
All good.
you know, all good movies, but all movies that didn't do well at the time
Yeah.
and were sort of pushed aside, including Emperor's New Groove.
Yes.
But then you go, no, there's a fan base for everything, and that's so inspiring to see. And it's great that to have that connection with the audience that says, no, we haven't forgotten, because when the movie came out, and it didn't do well, and the company sort of pushed it aside. We all thought, well, that's the end of that. That's never going to live on. We had fun, but to
Yeah.
see that it's lived on all this time because of people like you that
Yeah.
keep the memory alive and keep
Oh
the
my God.
enthusiasm going,
Yeah.
it's,
I
it's
wouldn't
really
I often
great.
wonder about that because there's a lot really if you think about it, so many films that in it's like in hindsight everybody who knew it later on when it kind of gained momentum, which could be
Mhm.
years or even a decade after a film comes
Yeah,
and all of a sudden yeah, you go to cons or whatever and like you get all these people coming up to you. That must be wild because especially at the time,
yeah,
you're, well, we tried, but at least you had fun, right?
exactly.
These
It
too.
is. It's wonderful. It's lovely. It's the best thing. And I think, I think everybody who creates and who tells stories and makes art in any way, in
Mhm.
any form, it's all about connecting. You want to you create something to make a connection to at least one, if not the whole world, at least one person. We write stories and we put on plays and we make movies and we paint paintings and all that stuff because We want somebody to look at it and feel something. So um, that's what this, like you're saying, bumping into people who go, "Oh my gosh, I love that movie."
Yeah,
That's the confirmation that okay, we reached somebody, we did connect to somebody out there, and that's great.
absolutely. Um, and I guess we may have sort of touched on this a little bit, but so looking back, you gave a previous interview to Press Playhouse Daily, and
Hmm.
the things that you said that I was like, man, that is true,
Mm,
is you talked about how the best characters are complex, but the best story.
mm,
And
mm.
I mean, just yeah, just spouting truth over there, Steve. Like it's so true. And that got me wondering, between films that you yourself have made or been a part of, or just films that you've watched as a spectator, is there an example or a couple of examples of films that you feel really strike that balance well as examples
Mm.
of the future? Because I think the question had to do with, what is the industry missing now? Or, what could be better? What could help us improve our storytelling? So that was just something that got me thinking. That was a great question that she asked.
Yeah. Well, I think did I say was my example Indiana Jones in my
Yeah,
in
you were
the
talking, yeah, with
yeah
character complexity, how he's this amazing, adventurer, but then, oh my gosh, he's afraid of snakes. Yeah.
yeah yeah. So, and not to be nerdy about it, but that's a
You
character
can
and a bunch
be
of okay.
very-
That's a those the certainly Raiders is a huge influence on me. Not that I make those kind of movies, but just that was really the movie that opened my eyes to, oh my gosh, this is storytelling. Like it's not just I don't know, it's beyond it how you present the ideas to the audience is so important. And really the one of the big influences on me wanting to be a director. Um, and yeah, I think obviously there's a lot of complexity in that movie, but it's also a very simple story. It's a very simple premise. There's a task that has to be done, and the character pursues that task, and the character in pursuing that task, excuse me,
Mhm.
um, come up against obstacles, and to overcome those obstacles, they have to find different parts of themselves to bring out in order to achieve those things um, because it's going to be harder and harder and harder to achieve it. So you got to find deeper and deeper strength in you to achieve those, to overcome those obstacles to achieve the goal. It's that very simple kind of story premise. It's not
Mhm.
premise, story. The this to me, it's those basic story elements. You
Yeah.
have a character who has an obstacle, excuse me, who has an objective, and there's obstacles in their way. And the story is what happens in their pursuit of that um, objective
Mhm.
as they overcome those obstacles. You can
Yeah.
tell the simplest, you can tell like a 5 second story with that. You can tell make a 10 season Netflix show or whatever.
Yeah.
That's really how you boil it down. So I think thinking of those just real simple things um, uh, keep movies kind of at the core simple. But then, of course, there's all the nuance and the complexity that goes on top of that. And yeah, like you said, the Indiana Jones example, well, he just showed um, enormous amounts of tenacity and bravery, and um, but yet he's afraid of snakes.
Right.
Of course, where's the object of his quest? In a pit full of snakes.
In a pit full of snakes. Right.
So
Exactly.
now I as the character, if I'm going to achieve, that's like the ultimate thing. If I'm going to achieve that goal, I have to confront my greatest fear. And
Mhm.
that makes the character grow. That makes the character, and that shows us that that character is strong. That character is worth rooting for because they don't back down, because they say, even though there's a moment of like, oh man, snakes, why did it have to be snakes? I don't want to go in there. But the measure of that character is that he still does it
Mhm.
regardless because that objective is so the achievement of that objective is so strong for him. I don't know. That was a huge ramble. Uh,
No,
hopefully,
ramble away. That's what this is about. Y'all want your insight, Steve. So that's great and very very accurate. I think I mean Indiana Jones. I think is a really good example of a very complex character. But even talking about simple characters, like in Winnie the Pooh.
Hmm.
I mean, those characters are complex. They're simple. They're simply drawn,
Yeah.
characters like as far as their design and their appealing and everything, but their individual characteristics are complex, and that's what makes it interesting, and their connections to each other. So, I think that's you just really hit the nail on the head with that. As far as like the characters do need to be complex because we're complex as people, and if it's not relatable in that way, we all have our snakes that we're afraid of or whatever.
Yeah.
So I really
Absolutely.
thought that was super, super spot on.
Oh, cool. That's good to hear.
Call back to that.
Yeah, great.
So another thing that I wanted to touch on because I realized this kind of recently is about you. You were teaching at CalArts for
Mhm.
what about a decade?
Yeah, not continuous, but like five
Okay.
and five kind of. But
Okay.
yes, total of about 10 years.
And is that something? I mean, is teaching is something that obviously not everybody can do, not everybody wants to do. Is that something that you sort of fell into, or was there a time in your life where you're like, man, I really, really like teaching. I really want to
Mm.
pass. On.
I did fall into it.
Okay.
I was a couple years into working at Disney. I think I was still on Tarzan. And a colleague of mine named Jim Capobianco, storyboard artist, who ended up going up to Pixar and being a director up there. He had, that might have been why he was not teaching anymore. He was teaching at CalArts.
Okay.
That might have been why he was needing someone to replace him for his class because he was moving to Pixar. Maybe, I
Okay.
think. At any rate, he had been teaching and he couldn't do it anymore. So he was looking for someone to replace to take over the class. And so he asked me if I would do it, and never thinking that that was something I wanted to do. Um, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember why I did say yes because it was so not what I wanted to do. I think
And
it was just an interesting challenge. Obviously, I knew CalArts from the student side of things, so I like, well, at least I'm not going into a place that I have no idea what the vibe is. I don't know what the culture
right.
is. I totally knew CalArts at least, so I knew I could. I was halfway there already. But what was interesting around that time is it was the first few years at Disney was a huge part of my just development as a person because very much a naturally an introvert and a quiet person and a processor. And at Disney, as a storyboard artist, you can be that, but you have to find the extrovert in yourself because you have to pitch your storyboards, you have to be in the room, giving notes and feedback and contributing and brainstorming. And I was also, the studio had asked me to do a few internal presentations about the story department to some other parts of the company, just as an FYI to what we do here at animation.
Mhm.
And that was scary because I'd never done any presentations before. I'd never really done that.
Yeah.
But I found that it was kind of exciting. Once I actually just got up there and started doing it, I eased into it and I was okay. And so then teaching at CalArts was kind of, I guess, the third part of that whole um, period of me coming out of my shell and getting a little more comfortable in my own skin
Mhm.
and my own voice and not feeling like couldn't stand up in front of people and speak my mind or um, talk about story or talk about storyboarding or whatever it might be. So I'm really glad I did, and I did end up really loving teaching. I did love it uh,
Yeah.
quite a lot. But part of a part of my personal journey.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I know it's amazing how much we how hard that is really. I
Yeah.
mean, public speaking because so yeah, I fell into a similar situation about with teaching, but yeah, it
Uh-huh.
absolutely is a character developer and makes you
Yeah.
jump out of your shell because you don't have a choice. So but
Yeah.
your experience do you and you still lecture too, don't you? Maybe not specifically at CalArts, but you do give talks and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have so much experience now, so I mean, gosh, that's got to be very
And now I like it. Now I'm like, I like it. And if I do get nervous about it, and I do, I'm always,
valuable.
that never goes away, but it's, it's one of those things that I want to do to keep getting better at it and get more comfortable and again more comfortable in my own skin with my own voice. Uh,
Hmm.
it's like I need to keep doing it. Um,
Yeah.
I was okay putting teaching aside because I needed to prioritize things a little bit at the time, but I still love being able to talk with folks and get out there and share stories and things because it just
Mhm.
keeps me sharp.
Yeah, I agree. Um, so I want to talk, I don't want to keep you for forever this morning.
No worries.
I do want to talk about your book.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I was really interested in knowing is for anybody who's not familiar with this, just this time period, oh, it's blurry. My camera's like, what do you want? Um, but your book, first of all, what inspired you to write about this particular time period? Was it that it's kind of an under talked about time period, or kind of what kicked that off? What inspired it?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, that's the Disney of my childhood, so I have huge nostalgia for that time period.
Mm.
Big nerdy feelings for all those weird movies that came out during that time. Um, it's just anytime I see anything about those movies, I just get so happy. So I just wanted to dig into it from that standpoint and go, oh, I just want to know more about what was going on at the studio and how those movies were created. But then it's also what you said, that it's such a undocumented time in the
Yeah.
studio's history. It usually skipped over in the history books. Maybe they talk about, the Rescuers or the Black Cauldron or a couple movies in Tron, a couple movies in there get spoken about because there's some significance to them, development of the studio wise. But
Mhm.
usually it's because it's not a sexy time, it's not a
Yeah, it's
prosperous time. It's
the
a
bridge
kind of a
before the Renaissance, right? That's what
yeah.
it is. People go blip, and then this happened, but then let's talk.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
now,
it's like, oh, and then, Walt passed away and then things got a little cuckoo. But then
but
there was
then
The Little Mermaid and there was, Good
there's
Morning Vietnam and
there,
Touchstone Pictures and whatever, you
but there's
know.
so much. I mean, you were.
Yeah,
I mean, this is proof. There's a lot to that time. Very glad that somebody wrote about it. So
good, good. It
that's
seemed to me like a time the stories needed to be told, attention
Mhm.
needed to be paid.
Yeah, yeah. And so along those lines, when you were writing this book, was this an educational experience for you, or were you just writing about things you already knew and understood about?
It was a huge educational experience, because there were tons of, just from a factual standpoint, there was so much I didn't know that was going on at the time. So I knew it was a bumpy period. I knew there was some, internal struggles and political stuff going on, but I didn't know to the extent at which it was going on and how, this particularly in animation, like how intense the battle for the soul of Disney animation was during that time
Yeah,
period.
it went away, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was huge. Also, what was interesting, this is a little more on a thematic standpoint, but
Yeah.
um, when I finally said, "Okay, why don't you sit down and write this thing?" It was during the pandemic, so
Oh wow.
we were, the world was in a time of transition. There was lots of uncertainty. There was lots of, what is this world anymore? What are we doing? And we're all kind of in this weird,
The dark times.
liminal time, in
Yeah.
between time. And so as I was going through the research and kind of trying to get it up on its feet, I was like, that's exactly what the studio was going through, the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And so then it just made my brain go, it's such a part of the human existence. We have obviously times of prosperity, but between those times, sometimes we lose our way. Sometimes things get gray. Sometimes things are very uncertain.
Mhm.
We know where things were, and that time is gone, is past.
Mhm.
We don't know where things are gonna go, and so we're in this limbo.
Yeah.
And it just got me in that interesting mindset to think they're not great times, but they're necessary times. We have to go
Yeah.
through those periods of uncertainty, um, and they always lead to positive things. We just might take longer than we want them to.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So,
Well, and along those lines too, I was talking to my previous guest, Moroni Taylor.
mhm,
We were discussing kind of the future. This is a piece of the animation industry's history. Good, bad, or indifferent, and it's important, and it created, it helped push us onto the trajectory that we've been on. Um, you personally, I mean, what do you think the future of the industry looks like? We're also in a very kind of tumultuous time. Everybody's, got their feelings about AI and all that stuff. I mean, what kind
mhm.
of are your thoughts on the trajectory of the industry now, especially for young people who are trying to get into it? What do you think
Right.
the future looks like for them
I'll be totally honest and say I'm not sure. I can see
there?
that I have a lot of uncertainty as well. I don't really know because there's new animation has always, I'm sure you've heard this a million times. Animation's always had peaks and valleys. Entertainment industry has always had peaks and valleys. Disney has always had peaks and valleys. And it's always bounced back. The interesting thing about this time is there's a few new components that we don't really understand. There's new technology disruptions. There's, the new world of streaming and the relationship to streaming and theaters, theatrical experience
Yeah,
that have never really, we don't know how those are going to suss out because we don't have any context for that. So I'm not really sure. At the same time, I try to just keep telling people maybe it's not going to be your day job, but if you love this, if you love drawing, if you love painting, if you love storyboarding, if you love music, whatever it is, storytelling, directing, filmmaking, you just have to keep doing it. Um,
yeah,
you just have to keep doing it. Um, because it's your passion and that's what matters more. I know it's not fun. I know it's not cool. It's great to be able to get paid for it. And we all want to do that. And we all want to book on big, like we want to be part of the industry. And I get it. I get it. And I think that time will come back. But in the meantime, um, we have to keep doing it. We have to keep telling our stories for our own sake. And I think for the world's sake. And that might mean it has to be a hobby for a while. It might have to be a side projects. It might not be your primary focus. That's also one of the things that was very helpful for me writing that book was I had left the Disney and was having I think I was still kind of a Disney when I started it, but basically then I left Disney and I was having a lot of trouble getting work. And I was getting really depressed because
yeah.
I couldn't get work. And I was like, oh shoot, what do I
And
do?
a guy who
Um,
was working for Disney, and you have the resume too. But like I said, these are dark times, man. Like all these
yeah,
who are like
yeah.
myself included. I mean, yeah, I mean, I won't go into my story, but yeah, it's,
Yeah,
but I think
but
that
I
that's,
wanted to keep doing it. I was like, I have to keep telling stories. I have to find
yeah,
ways to do it. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, keep trucking. I agree. Just keep telling your stories, and that's, I think, one of the blessings. You talked a little bit about social media before and how love it or hate it, or the pros and cons. There's plenty of pros and cons, but I think overall it's been a huge blessing under the circumstances and where we are in the industry and people trying to get work.
Hmm.
You can put your stuff out there. You and Moroni and I talked about that a little bit too. He's a big advocate of that. Put your stuff out there. Tell your story. There's a million ways that you and find an audience. And so, I think that that's exactly right. All we can do in this stage of uncertainty is just keep telling our stories. So
Yeah, totally.
very true. All right. Well, I think the thing I'm going to end on is shameless plug time. Obviously, we've got your book. That's wonderful that I hope everybody reads. Um, but what else are you working on? What other stuff is exciting that you want people to know about?
Yeah, I'm back at Disney Animation,
Awesome.
working on a new Tiana 30-minute Disney Plus film, which
That's exciting.
is not, I don't know when all I can really say is we're working on it and we're having
Sure.
a lot of fun. Great characters, great world, and we're enjoying
Great.
creating a new story for her.
Yeah, she deserves one. She's
She
a
does.
That film is awesome. I actually am one of the people who absolutely loves the Bayou River, the
Oh
adventure
yeah, yeah, yep.
remake. I've been on it multiple times and I love it. So, yay! I'm
It's
glad
super
that you
fun.
guys are touching on that story again. I think
Yeah,
that always going to be room for that story and those characters. So
yeah.
awesome. Well, Steve,
Great.
thank you so much again. I cannot thank you enough for the book and for your time. I really appreciate it, and I know that a lot of people were looking forward to hearing you talk. So and
Thank you.
and give your advice. So again, thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Thank you, Heather. Thanks for the opportunity.
No problem at all. All right. Well, you take care and hopefully we'll talk again in the future. Maybe do another interview one of these days.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Bunch.